Picture yourself somewhere on a hillside, in thick fog. You cannot see the valley floor. You cannot see the peaks. All you can do is feel the ground under your feet. And here is the strange thing. That is enough. You walk in whichever direction tilts downhill, and you keep going until the tilting stops. When the ground goes flat, you have arrived somewhere worth checking. That single instinct is the whole of this subject in miniature. Though notice the catch that will shadow us the whole way. Flat ground means you stopped going down. It does not promise there is no deeper valley hiding behind the fog. Let us turn that instinct into a method. One that works on a curve, on a surface, and in 1,000 dimensions you could never draw. Start with the friendliest problem in the whole subject. No budget ceiling. No fences. No rules about where you may stand. Take the fences away, and the point is free to wander anywhere it likes. Minimize f of x, where x may sit anywhere in n-dimensional space. That is the entire problem statement. It sounds too easy to matter. It is not. Fitting a curve to data by least squares is precisely this. Constrained problems get reshaped into this. And every numerical solver you will ever write is, underneath all its machinery, hunting for exactly what we are about to define. Here is a curve with some personality. A hump, and then a dip. Watch the tangent line as we travel along it. Most of the time it is tilted. Climbing on the left, falling through the middle, climbing again at the end. But at the very top of the hump, and again at the very bottom of the dip, the tilt vanishes. For one instant the tangent lies perfectly flat. That gives us our first tool. At any interior maximum or minimum of a smooth function, the derivative must be zero. With several variables, every partial derivative has to vanish at once, so the gradient is the zero vector. Points where that happens are called stationary points. But read the logic carefully. Every extremum is stationary. Not every stationary point is an extremum. The condition is necessary, not sufficient. It hands you a short list of suspects, never a verdict. So how do we convict a suspect? We ask a second question. Which way does the function bend? If it bends upward at the stationary point, like the inside of a ball, you are sitting at the bottom of something. A minimum. If it bends downward, like a dome, you are standing on top. A maximum. And there is a third possibility, one that only appears once you have more than a single direction to move in. Uphill this way, downhill that way. A saddle. Perfectly flat, and going nowhere good. Bending is measured by the second derivative, and its sign is the verdict. Positive means minimum. Negative means maximum. And if the second derivative is zero, the test simply has nothing to say, so we will need a sharper instrument. Let us run the machine on a real function. X cubed minus 3x. Differentiate, then set the result to 0. 3x squared minus 3 equals nothing, so x is plus 1 or minus 1. Two suspects, and still no verdict. The second derivative is 6x. At x equals 1, that is positive 6. The curve bends upward, so this is a local minimum, and the value there is minus 2. At x equals minus 1, it is negative 6. Bending down. A local maximum of value plus 2. Now notice what these are not. Push x far to the right, and the function climbs forever. Far to the left, it falls forever. The minimum we found is local. Nothing about it is global. Here is the case where our test goes quiet. Take x to the fourth power. The derivative vanishes at 0, but so does the second derivative. No verdict at all. So keep differentiating until something survives. Here, the fourth derivative is 24. And the rule is this. If the first surviving derivative has even order and is positive, you have a minimum. Even and negative, a maximum. Odd order, and it is merely an inflection. Not an extremum at all. Order 4 and positive. So 0 is a minimum. And this time, since the curve rises on both sides forever, it really is the global one. Everything so far survives the jump to many variables. We only need the right objects. The gradient gathers every first partial derivative into one vector, and it points in the direction of steepest increase. Setting it to 0 therefore leaves you n equations in n unknowns. On a contour map that is easy to see. Every ring collects the points where the function takes one fixed value. Away from the middle, the gradient arrows all point outward, uphill, straight across the rings. But at the very center there is no uphill direction left to point in, so the vector collapses to 0. Curvature gets an upgrade too. In one variable there was a single second derivative. In n variables there are n squared of them, arranged in a symmetric matrix called the Hessian. Try it on the very function drawing beside us. X squared plus y squared minus 4x minus 6y plus 13. The gradient is to x minus 4 and to y minus 6. Both vanish at the point 2, 3. And the Hessian is to along the diagonal, nothing anywhere else. The same at every single point, and unmistakably a ball. So the minimum value is exactly 0. Now for the point of this whole exercise. Consider x squared minus y squared. The gradient is to x and minus to y. It vanishes at the origin. A perfectly respectable stationary point. But walk along the x-axis, and the surface curves upward. It looks like a minimum. Walk along the y-axis, and it curves downward. It looks like a maximum. Both descriptions are true, which means neither one is. The Hessian carries a 2 in one diagonal slot, and a minus 2 in the other. Its determinant is minus 4. Negative. That negative sign is the fingerprint of disagreement. One downhill direction is all it takes to disqualify a minimum. Classifying a stationary point in n dimensions comes down to a single question about a matrix. Ball, dome, or saddle. The technical word for the answer is definiteness. The honest test is eigenvalues. If they are all positive, then every direction curves upward and the matrix is positive definite, a minimum. All negative, and it is negative definite, a maximum. Mixed signs, and it is indefinite, a saddle. Eigenvalues are work. Sylvester's criterion reaches the same answer with determinants alone. Walk down the leading principal minors, the top left entry by itself, then the top left 2 by 2, and so on. If every one of them is positive, the matrix is positive definite. For a 2 by 2 it collapses to a one-liner. Determinant positive, and the top left entry positive, minimum. Determinant positive but top left negative maximum. Determinant negative saddle every single time. Let us use it. Take x squared plus xy plus y squared minus 3x, setting both partial derivatives to 0 leaves a small linear system, and it hands back x equals 2, y equals minus 1. The Hessian is 2, 1, 1, 2. The first minor is 2, the second is 3. Both positive, so it is a ball. And if you insist on eigenvalues, they are 1 and 3. Positive exactly as promised. The point is a minimum and the value there is minus 3. There is one situation where all of this caution about local versus global simply evaporates. If a function is convex, its graph never dips below any of its tangent lines. Slide the tangent wherever you like. The curve stays above it. Now bring that tangent to a stationary point. The slope there is 0, so the tangent becomes a perfectly flat, horizontal line. And that settles everything. The entire graph now sits on or above a flat line through that point, so no point anywhere can possibly be lower. For a convex function, solving gradient equals 0 does not merely produce a candidate. It finishes the job. Lose convexity and you lose the guarantee. Now several stationary points can appear at once, and the only way to know which one is lowest is to find them all and compare their values, while keeping one eye on what happens far away, in case the function runs off to minus infinity. Let us spend all of this on something that pays. Suppose the profit from 2 advertising channels, measured in thousands of rupees, is 40x plus 50y minus x squared minus y squared minus xy. Each channel helps, but with diminishing returns. And that minus xy term says the two of them eat into each other. So where should the money go? Stage 1. Set both partial derivatives to 0. That leaves two straight lines, 2x plus y equals 40, and x plus 2y equals 50. They cross at x equals 10, y equals 20. Stage 2, which is the stage people skip. Check the curvature before you celebrate. The Hessian holds minus 2 on the diagonal, minus 1 of it. The top left entry is negative, the determinant is 3, positive. Negative definite. So this really is a peak, not a saddle. Put the numbers back in, and the profit is 700. 7 lakh rupees, earned from 2 derivatives, and 1 determinant. Here is the whole method on one screen. Stage 1. Solve gradient equals 0, and collect every candidate it gives you. Stage 2. The one that gets skipped, evaluate the Hessian at each candidate, and read its definiteness. Positive definite minimum. Negative definite maximum. Indefinite saddle. And if it is singular, go looking at higher derivatives. And if the Hessian is positive definite everywhere, not just at your one point, then the function is convex, and your local minimum is the global one. Before you go, try one yourself. X squared y minus x squared minus y squared. Find every stationary point, classify each one, and then argue why not a single one of them is a global minimum. Next time, we put the fences back up. When you are not free to roam, the gradient no longer has to vanish at the best point, and a new idea takes over: multipliers. See you there.